Raila Odinga, in full realization of the high calling, assumed the office of the People's President of the Republic of Kenya.
Raila Odinga's death marked the end of an era in Kenya's politics, but it also left a question few are answering. What happens to opposition politics now? For decades, Raila symbolized protest, reform, and resistance.
Begin telling Ruto and Gachagua that we have no more patience with an illegitimate regime that is too mean-spirited and too incompetent to deploy resources for an all-out war on poverty and suffering.
The 2018 handshake between Raila and then President Uhuru Kenyatta ended months of political unrest that followed a violently disputed election that saw dozens killed. Supporters called it a moment of national healing and a deal to calm ethnic tensions. Critics, however, saw it as the start of a new pattern, elite accommodation replacing accountability, most clearly demonstrated by the push for the Building Bridges initiative, largely known as BBI, to create new political offices for the elite. Since then, Kenya's politics have increasingly revolved around negotiated coalitions rather than clear ideological differences.
With Raila's passing, Azimio now faces an identity crisis. Built around his leadership, it must now decide whether it remains a united movement or a loose collection of regional functions.
Raila's elder brother, Oburu Oginga, has stepped in as the interim ODM party leader to manage the immediate transition. Meanwhile, figures like Kalonzo Musyoka, Martha Karua, and Hassan Joho are emerging as potential successors. But no single figure yet commands Raila's national reach or historical authority.
Napendekeza kwamba Mheshimiwa Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi achaguliwe kama mwenyekiti wa chama cha KANU.
Analysts note that without Raila's balancing influence, opposition politics could fracture, or conversely, could be forced to rebuild a structural, decentralized, and issue-based opposition independent of elite deals. For many younger Kenyans, the handshake era represents both stability and frustration.
I'm here for Kenya, I'm here for my people, I'm here for your rights.
This generational sentiment recently exploded onto the streets with the Gen Z-led anti-tax protests. Interviews with younger voters reveal they feel sidelined, not by repression, but by political negotiation.
We demand IMF to come and carry their own puppet.
US puppet!
Many say opposition politics has become about who shakes whose hand rather than who delivers real change through elected office. That sentiment is reflected online, where hashtag campaigns and chatter point to a broader disillusionment.
Raila's legacy is revered, and there is no doubt it will remain like that for a very long time. But his model of politics, defined by personal deals, may no longer resonate with a generation that personally I have taken a keen interest in, who are demanding transparency and institutional accountability over political tradition.
Kenya's handshake fits a broader pattern seen across democracies navigating political fatigue. In Zimbabwe, the 2009 government of national unity between Robert Mugabe and Morgan Tsvangirai stabilized the immediate crisis, but ultimately failed to reform the state's deep structures, leaving the opposition vulnerable and institutions weaker after it ended. In South Africa, the recent formation of a government of national unity, GNU, involving diverse parties like the ANC and DA, is now testing how far power sharing can go before accountability fades. And in Tunisia, the 2014-2019 consensus democracy between rival parties was initially praised for ensuring a peaceful transition until voters saw it as a collusion and turned away from politics altogether. Kenya's experience reflects that same tension. Elite bargains can buy immediate calm, but they can also mute dissent and exhaust civic trust. The test for Azimio and Kenya's broader opposition will be whether they can build institutional structures that can compete vigorously and endure, rather than rely on the eventual promise of an individual-led political deal.
Raila Odinga's political life was defined by struggle. His death now defines a moment of reflection, not only for Kenya, but for every democracy wrestling with how to renew opposition in an age of political deals.